well, we're going to dive right into sort of problems and dilemmas. But with the goal of sort of trying to organize a way for us to connect around some of these. So, so if you wanted to start to sort of brainstorm some things that you might want to ask other people in this group, feel free while we wait for everybody else. And then if you have to remember what everybody else in this group is doing, you can go back through, this is a running agenda with all the notes from our previous calls. So you can scroll back through and sort of see what other folks are up to. Okay. Thanks. And I'm gonna put myself on mute and check my email and just make sure people aren't struggling to get in. Did you get any emails, Kathleen?
Not as of a couple minutes ago, but I'm just checking now.
Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of RSVPs.
I know. It's interesting. I will just email everyone. I'll send out a blast. So those of you who are here can ignore my email. I'll just send out a quick blast.
Yeah, and I mean, you can let people know when you send that out that we're recording and we'll do a follow-up email. So it's no pressure. Just want to make sure we don't.
Yeah, so that people can get in if they want to. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Vicki.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I'm getting used to you not having video, so.
Well, I found out I can get my old computer back just to use for Zoom.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, because it's fine on the old one. So hopefully I'll have that in the next couple days and be back.
Great. Here comes more people. Hello, Jeff. So Jeff and Vicki, we are in the agenda. And you'll see there's a prompt there. So folks are, the folks here are starting to write to that prompt a bit. And we're expecting more people, so we're kind of delaying getting started here. So if you want to dive in there into the agenda first while we wait.
Do you mind? Oh, is it in the chat, the link?
Yeah. Do you see it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, is someone joining us from California?
Oh yeah, who's this 510 number?
It could be Lighthouse.
Oh, weird.
Lighthouse is here. I'm going, Lighthouse and Vision Quilt. I'll be on mute because there's some noise in the background, but I'm here.
Great.
What name should I put on, what's your name? Sorry. I'll put it on your.
Karen, my first name is Karen.
Cool.
Last name is Fee.
And then like.
Great, thank you.
So Karen, in the Lighthouse team, we're in the agenda right now and folks are responding to the prompt there, but I'll get started soon. Hi, who's here?
Hi there.
Hi there.
Holly Urness, sorry, it wound up taking me in on I host Zoom meetings, so it recognized me under a different name. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for being here. We're in the agenda. Do you have that link?
I do, yes, thanks.
Okay, great. Well, why don't we get started? And I know folks are have done some writing already, which is great. So thank you all. And we might be a small group tonight, which actually might be nice because then we can sort of talk a little bit across these projects. But nice to see everybody. I can't believe it's October already. So, and one of the things that Kathleen and I were talking about after our last phone call was just how many, different projects were going on and really exciting work. And then the fact that we don't actually have a chance to meet face to face in any sort of organized way during this 15 months. So we started thinking about how could we support some of the questions that were coming up and some of the shared, sharing of knowledge across sites by developing some sort of consultancy process that we do that is virtual. So we have some ideas and suggestions. It's something that I did in a course that I was teaching. So I wanted to show you how it works and see if we thought it would work together. And part of doing a consultancy, if you haven't done one before, is sort of the important part of consultancy is really asking a good question of other people, a very clear question. And it allows for other people to give you good feedback, the better your question is. So tonight's writing was just what are some dilemmas that you are facing as you work on your LRNG challenge work, as well as, and what's a question that you might want to ask the others in this group or doing the other people working on other projects. So that's kind of the focus of tonight. But why don't we just start by first saying hi to each other, because we're a small group. So it'd be sort of nice to just say hello for a second. Maybe just, I'll point to one person and then that person can maybe shout out someone else and then we'll do it that way. Maybe you could just tell us where you are and remind us which project you're working on. I don't know, something exciting that happened this month, briefly. Shelby, do you want to start?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Shelby Whitty with the OSU Writing Project, and I, along with my colleagues Shanidra and Callie, who are likely on this call somewhere in the list of people, are leading a group of teacher leaders and their students in a youth-driven inquiry on the Tulsa Race Massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And a highlight of this month is our Tulsa Race Massacre field trips / experiences are ongoing each Wednesday of this month, and we are halfway completed with those, and it has been an eye-opening experience for everyone involved. And I'm going to tag Alexa.
Hi guys, I've been here since the beginning. I've just been jumping on my computer, so I've been in and out. I'm in Rochester, New York with the Genesee Valley Writing Project. I think I'm the only one here right now. And we're with, our project is promoting youth justice projects and making our community better. And I guess when we get into problems and dilemmas, we'll talk more there.
Great, thanks.
And I'll tag Holly.
Hi there. I'm part of the Lake Stevens School District and working with Kelly Guilfoyle, who's also in the meeting. We're working on the Career Passion Project. And I think the really outstanding thing that I've seen as a result of the work that we did this summer, we actually brought in a project-based learning trainer out of Michigan to work with a interdisciplinary team of teachers to think about their content areas and how students might enter into those content areas as part of a credit recovery process. We have one that doesn't work very well, so we had this team of people representing all the core contents and areas that students struggle with, and they looked at their standards and thought about how students could demonstrate understanding in a different way than a process that none of us appreciate very much because it doesn't work very well. And anyway, we knew that when you get a bunch of thought leaders together in their content areas, that they would light a fire amongst their colleagues, and that's been the fun part, has been seeing the thinking spread. And I, in particular, work with science teachers, and the one of the teachers that we brought was representing high school science, and he really, without trying very hard, persuaded his entire team to reimagine a couple of final assessments in light of project-based learning an approach that developed directly out of his work from the summer. So it really was fun to hear him bring another 7 people on board to trying something that they wouldn't have otherwise tried, thanks to the training and the pre-thinking that he had done during the month of August. So we're pretty excited about the work. And that's not counting Kelly's work. She works more on the humanities side, so I'll let her speak for hers. I'll tag Kelly Guilfoyle.
I'm Kelly. Holly described our project really well. And on the humanities side, I've been having some really fun collaborations with a social studies teacher at my building. He's having students start their first couple of projects, and one of our focuses was keeping a student kind of on our mental shoulder who is maybe less traditionally motivated in school, so that we can try to capture their interests through projects. And so he had a girl who, instead of researching the Renaissance, was busy researching astrology, and he caught her doing it and said, you know, this would be a really good topic to bring into your Renaissance project, because astrology was one of the things that was maybe starting to take hold in the Renaissance, and it's still around today. She said, I could do that. So we're really starting to capture student interest. We're excited about that. And I will tag Shanedra.
Thanks, Kelly. I think Shelby also kind of described our project. So I'm with Oklahoma State University Writing Project. We are working on the Tulsa Race Massacre. Like she said, we're in the midst of our field trips. It has been a learning experience for us. We've had a lot of schools. We actually, kind of lost the school in the middle of this too, and trying to make sure that we get all of our students, in and around, and, dealing with weather. And it's been really exciting. We're thinking about ideas of how to scale this up, because this is a hot topic right now. We're approaching the 100th anniversary of this event in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Even every day on the news, they're talking about the search for mass graves. And so it's on the forefront of everyone's mind. And so we're trying to figure out how we can spread this work to more and more teachers and get them excited. And what can we share one little piece of what we're doing, or many pieces of what we're doing with them in their classrooms.
Forgot to tag someone.
I did. Okay, I'll tag.
Who? Sorry.
Is it Vicky?
Vicky.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Vicki from Maryland Writing Project, and we're doing a youth writing workshop around advocacy and action. And we had our first session a few weeks ago and had a local photographer writer who came and shared his photographs, and his work is really around perspective taking, and so looking at a photograph from Baltimore, he's takes pictures of our city and writing about it from your perspective. And we were really blown away by what the students wrote. It was unbelievably insightful and powerful. I just sat there thinking, oh my gosh, I just can't believe that these middle and high schoolers have this level of insight into an interpretation into what they're seeing, as well as just their writing was just really moving. So we were really excited. We had 42 students sign up, and we have a waiting list. So there's a lot of interest. So we're really excited about that. So I'll tag Nadia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nadia. Our project is The City is Our Campus in Cleveland, Ohio. We're basically, the students are working on sort of place-based research. So they're investigating different spaces in the community where they can find their place. I'm sort of on the coordinating end, so I'm not in the classroom very much with the students. Dr. Molly Buckley is usually on the call, but she asked me to step in tonight. But an exciting thing we have going on this month is that the students are meeting with a lot of our community partners. So they're sort of learning from them directly about different issues that they're working on. And then we're moving towards the students teaming up with one of those contacts from our community partners. So that's really exciting. And I will tag Thor.
Hello, everybody. I'm Thor Gibbons. I'm co-director of Leather Stocking Writing Project up here in Oneonta, New York. And we're doing the Young Video Game Designer Institute for youth in kind of more rural communities that have limited access to the internet. And we did our first camp this summer, and then we also did some professional development for some local BOCES crop program. So we're starting to work on extending PD out to the local schools right now. And then now the big dilemma is scaling up for this next summer, expanding to grades 1st through 3, and then into high school. So that's what we're working on now. And I'll tag.
It's quite the span. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, Jeff.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jeff Garver. I teach at a Northern Michigan school district, very rural, K through 12. I'm in kind of Thor's position. And I am in the top of the MIT writing project. Right now, we're working on creating a graffiti board to communicate with schools in our area, a traveling graffiti board, trying to focus on kind of a make a change type topic. And my big challenge right now, being in a small district, I have kids who like to play school and kids who don't like to play school. And I'm trying to attract kids who don't like to play school. So kind of the outsiders here and there. And in a rural district, it's pretty profound how that kind of plays out. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And the rest of my writing project is actually doing our year-long institute night tonight. So I'm kind of our lone survivor. And I guess I would like to tag Kathleen.
I'm being tagged. Is that me? Awesome. I work at the National Writing Project, so I don't have any project to talk about, unfortunately. But it's been really interesting to hear all about yours.
You can tag someone, Kathleen. I think Joanne and Karen are the two left.
I tag Karen. Who's probably muted.
I'm here, sorry. So I can share briefly that we're wrapping up an entire school professional development institute today. So I'm sorry, I'm distracted, but I can find a quiet space.
It's totally fine.
We're literally putting chairs up and stuff. Or they're putting chairs up around me. Anyway, what we're doing is I'm working with a Vision Quilt project that addresses gun violence. We're in Oakland, California. And much like the AIDS quilt brought awareness through art and emotional healing through art, Vision Quilt seeks to have students explore their experiences with gun violence by researching, exploring how gun violence has impacted their lives and the lives of the community, and then making a panel for a quilt that travels around. And the part of the work that we're doing right now is we have a teen council who's meeting to bring more student voice into the planning process. And then the actual work with our middle schoolers will launch in January. And so the fall, we're really spending time getting student voice into all of the curriculum materials to make sure that going forward, the curriculum is very much geared toward what students are experiencing in their community. So as our teen council spends time together and builds trust, this fall we'll be ready to launch the bulk of the project and documentation of the curriculum beginning in January. So I hope that gives a little bit of an overview of what we're doing.
That's great. Thank you, Karen. Let me pass it for you, just so in case it's hard to do, to Joanne.
Thank you.
Sure. And I think Kelly has joined us too. Hi, Kelly.
Hello. Sorry for joining late. I had some technical issues.
No problem.
So I also joined late because I was teaching a class.
All right. So you don't know what we're doing yet, really.
Well, I'm kind of guessing this is
Yeah.
like tagging about what we're up to so far as of October. And I see that my colleague Alexa Basile is on here. Did she already?
She gave us an update.
Tagged?
Yep.
No?
Yes, she was.
Oh.
I didn't.
She gave us.
I didn't say too much yet, Joanne. I just kind of said that we're just about to get started.
Yeah, well, I mean, starting is always an interesting question, but what we have done is we really pursued over the summer the question of how do we invite students, what we call at East, we call them scholars, equitably, and we kind of so we're right now we're in the process of recruiting the youth, and for a lot of reasons it's October that we're doing that, but we had to also figure out a structure to meet since they're going to come from all the different teachers, different classes. So we needed to use the school's club structure, which Alexa is directing, and that takes a bit to get going. Anyway, we developed this profile. Did you talk about the profile, Alexa?
No, not yet.
Of a youth who's disengaged but capable, guarded, doesn't like the school structure, but also just school. Their passions not shared with us. They're not involved in a lot of other things, which is something that we thought, kids who don't have a lot of extracurriculars, they're not in sports, they're kind of keeping their head down low. They're willing to connect, but they're cautious, and they're often overlooked. And interestingly, of the 9 teachers that we generated 60 names, and then we opened it up to the school for other teachers to, if they had a student they were struggling with that kind of was like this, they added another 10 more. So we're at 68 potentials, and we're going to craft it as a you've been nominated to participate in this really cool thing where we're going to connect your passions to people in the community anyway, and talk about our justice project and the kind of grant and everything, and throw John Legend's name around where appropriate, so they think we're cool. And then this week actually is the club recruitment lunch hour times, and so Alexa and some others are going to see, because we want anybody really who's interested to participate, and then the plan is to use the weekly or monthly, probably weekly in the beginning, club structure to have them meet after school, and we have bus passes and things for them to get home, and with the goal of getting to 20 and then picking up speed really fast with finding their passions and connecting them with community members. Part of why we did it this way is that getting to passions with our community is hard, and it takes long-term relationships and trust. And the teachers, that's why they nominated kids they already knew, and so that they already have relationships with, and sort of coax them into doing it. So I don't know if that's everything that people were talking about, but that's where we are right now.
Well, that's super great. I mean, I'm glad I know you had questions last month even. So the design, I can hear the design work you've all been doing. And then I think that it would resonate with certain things that other people shared here too. So that's great. And Kelly, hi. Do you want to just sort of give an update for the group, or introduce yourself and give a quick update?
Sure. I jumped in late, so I'm just listening to all your conversations. Basically, I work at a very, very small school where the students' privacy is protected. So it's a little bit interesting from my end and getting them to participate, especially since we are working with 6 other schools. So all my students are on probation. And they are very interested in the things that I've been showing them in class. And together, we've been brainstorming ideas to have them participate and still stay anonymous, I guess, if they choose. There's not even a sign on the front of my school. So I have to be sensitive to that from a court perspective. But they can participate if they would choose to. It would just involve a whole lot of permissions. But the excitement has been real. We've been watching some pretty inspiring videos in class and looking at performance posts and things like that. So it's been, just that part of it alone has been rewarding for us.
That's great. Thank you, Kelly. And you're working with Jeff, right? I just wanted to say that so the group can make that
Toby,
connection.
Jeff, Jane, I think there's 7 teachers involved, and we're all meeting tomorrow night again for a brainstorming session, because we have a big day planned in February with all of the schools involved who are either participating or are just part of the project in some way.
Great. And I was thinking, we had some incarcerated youth that also had in a previous project that had those kind of like level of privacy issues that I was just thinking about a resource that might be useful. She's a librarian, so they sort of worked through a bunch of stuff that way. I don't know if it would be helpful to talk to her, but
we actually have something cool planned with masks.
Interesting. Great. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot about that, and then actually removing those masks because of the stereotypes that even exist with them. So I've been inspired, and I think they're going to map their way through this on their own. I think I'm just going to stand back and let them figure it out as I throw issues out there. So.
Wow. Okay, great. Another project that I was thinking about when some of you were talking was this project that happened in a previous project. The one I was just talking about, I couldn't find fast enough, but this one I did find. This is in Albemarle County, Virginia, where, and Charlottesville, Virginia, where all the white supremacist rallies were in 2018, no, 17. And they did a project around monuments there that those rallies happened right before school started. They had already proposed the project, and then because monuments was already a
Right.
serious topic. So anyway, this is just put in the chat. This is another, and this goes back to when I'm trying to think who sparked this. I mean, both the work in Tulsa and then something else someone said. No, I can't remember. Sorry. This is, it was also because of the way that they really tried to support youth in making decisions along the way. So I thought some of you might appreciate this resource because I talk about these decision points when they decided like, okay, as a group of teachers, here's another decision point. Do we take the control as teachers or do we support the kids in making this decision? You know, and like, they always said, yes, let's support the kids, but they like articulated where their thinking points were. So anyway, while you were talking, it's one of the resources that I thought of. And then I also was just thinking in general, this resource, The Current, is actually a good resource to introduce if you haven't seen it before. This is an open publishing site of the National Writing Project. And we, in the past, have had LRNG Innovator grantees. Instead of sending final reports to me, because I've decided final reports don't help the world ultimately if they sit on my desk. So I decided we've been working on a sort of structure where a lot of the reporting can happen in a public space like The Current, and then things that you want to keep private, you send to me directly. But that the real content that we want other educators to share, we share at The Current. So there's a bunch here. A lot of the highlighted ones that you'll see right at the top come from other LRNG Innovators projects. So anyway, I just wanted to mention.
They're like mentor texts in real time or in
Yeah,
yeah,
they are.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, browse this work, and we will also talk about The Current later when we're talking about like how to share out our work further.
Okay.
Great. Well, it's we do have a smaller group than we were expecting tonight, so I'm really glad we got a chance to all, give each other a few updates. For those of you who joined after I sort of introed sort of what we were thinking about for this month's gathering, I'll just repeat what I was saying before. So, and I'll just say this because some of you are new to this phone call. So we all have this shared challenge, right? And as you can hear, I think as everybody's sharing, there's a lot of overlap in terms of, sort of design challenges, as well as, what's possible, the ambitions and the intentions of the work. So we really want to give you all a chance to sort of work with each other and learn from each other. And last week, people were sharing really wonderful work that happened over the summer, as well as some really important and hard questions that were raised. And at this midpoint in this grant, we wanted to be able to give a chance for you all to sort of work directly with each other. So, so I was going to propose doing a kind of consultancy style project with smaller groups of all of you. So maybe like a group would be 3 or 4 projects probably, because there's 10 projects altogether, so it can't all be 3. But to do a consultancy together, and because we don't have a face-to-face meeting, to do a consultancy together in an online space. So I wanted to show you something that I did in a course that I taught that actually worked pretty well. It was a total experiment at the time, but could potentially be really helpful. So in the same way that like there's mentor texts of past LRNG grantees that you can refer to, I want you to be able to refer to, like really connect with each other around your shared questions. So on the agenda tonight, what we did was ask some of you to just start saying, what are some questions that if you had a chance to do kind of a consultancy project with some others in this group, what are some questions that you might put forward? Does anyone just want to say out loud some of the things that you wrote down, just so folks that didn't get a chance to really dive in here get a sense of what kind of questions you might have been thinking about?
I asked a question that I think I heard Kelly speak to a little bit as well, which is kind of that idea of privacy when we're collecting student work or trying to collect either data as far as pictures. Some kind of reporting would be fun after this, and assessing whether or not our work was effective. But I want to be really thoughtful about including student names or pictures or work in whatever reporting comes about.
Great, thanks. Other things that you wrote down here?
I don't know who wrote this, but the first two bullets, how do you include students who are not good at school?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you do with type A teachers? I think are two that Alexa might agree. One that we have issues with. The first one, I think we've figured out a way, but we'll see if the students buy it. And the issue of that students are the key driver is it comes up a lot, bubbles up a lot about, can't we make some boxes and then they'll pick among the boxes, and we're like, no.
Yeah.
And so connecting with people struggling with that. I mean, there's some ideas we have that of having what are our passions as adults, and how does that, what are connections that we have in the community that we could, if students are interested in similar things, right? So that we can build those connections. So we're just kind of waiting now to see if that plan will work. But.
Great. And then I know someone mentioned, Shanidra, earlier you were talking about the scaling and like reaching more teachers and really being able to support more kids and having, connecting with the work you're all doing. And then someone here wrote about connecting youth outside your workshops. Was that you, Vicki?
Yeah, that was me. And the way we're thinking about scaling is like building a network of youth in our area that would outlast the work that we're doing this year, that they would continue to be networked and be able to support one another in advocacy efforts, and that it would sort of build into who they are, and that they would continue to support each other. So that's how we're thinking about scaling up or scaling out. But of course, building that kind of community, among youth. And we have a very wide variety of youth, which is part of what we wanted, but from very different backgrounds. And so it's just a challenge.
Okay. Great. So who here has experience with consultancies? Because I'll just give a little overview, but then I'm happy, sort of the like protocols and consultancies. Well, I'll just do a little brief, but at the Writing Project, we often use protocols, which are really, resources that support us in listening to each other and then responding to each other, right? So they tend to have, okay, presenter presents and everybody listens. Now presenter actually listens and doesn't respond and listens to the people talk about the work. So, and a consultancy process is a protocol-driven process that supports you consulting with another group of people. So what I was trying to, what we were trying to think about was a way to do a consultancy process virtually, so that you can really, hi Grant, are you with Joanne?
Hi, yes,
Yeah.
I am.
He's actually
Saw you in
sitting
the
in my
background.
office.
Yeah,
This
great.
is the other side of her office.
Okay, welcome. So, so designing a protocol process where you can connect virtually and get some consultancy time with each other. And so a key piece of doing of coming to a consultancy is first actually having a question that you want to ask the rest of the group, and working to get a clear question. And then another key thing is to have a place and a space to talk to each other. So thinking about how we could do this virtually, I just wanted to show you one. I didn't really get their permission, but if you don't look at their, oh, they didn't put their last names in there anyway. Anyway, these are my students from a course that I teach at Arcadia University, and we use Flipgrid. Has anybody here used Flipgrid before?
Yes.
Okay. So we use Flipgrid as a consultancy where everybody was in groups of threes, and they each got feedback from their small group, and then each of them gave feedback to each other. So we did this over a kind of Flipgrid setup, which was kind of interesting, actually. I mean, it's not the same as being face-to-face, but it had some important elements to it. First of which is that it gives you a lot of time to sort of think and process. So that was one of the feedback that I got from students. And so I thought, well, maybe we could try it here. Another thing that it really helps with is the scheduling, because if you all had to like do a Zoom call and be live with each other at the same time, that gets pretty cumbersome. But this way you can do basically asynchronous consultancies. So it's a little bit of a, let's see how this works thing that I wanted to propose. But I put in the agenda a consultancy document that kind of walks you through how to do this. And I just wanted to run it by you all to see what you thought. So the idea is that we would put you in groups, and what I was thinking was that after this phone call, just hearing where you all are, I could make the groups fairly quickly, I think. And then I can send you an email with all the details and about the groups. But you'd be paired up with 2 other projects. And then each group would come up with a 5-minute presentation. So you would figure out what you want to say and what your question is for the group. So you would start with your question, then you would give some context about your question, and then you would end with your question again. And then when you have 5 minutes that you think makes sense, then you would record it on Flipgrid. Then the other people in your group would do the same thing. So each of you would have a Flipgrid video, a 5-minute Flipgrid video. And then you go and respond to their video, and they go respond to yours. So if you click on, here, let me actually do this while I'm sharing. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. So I made a Flipgrid here that is a guest account. So if you click on it, you should, and if it looks different than this, let me know. But you should see a screen that has a picture of folks in Tulsa meeting. Thanks, Tulsa. And that has this green box here, or green, what's it, cross, plus sign. I don't know why I can't think of it, it's late, sorry. When you click on the green plus sign, it just says first name and last name. So, and then email optional. So, and then you go in. So you don't have to log into any platform. You don't have to log into Flipgrid. You don't have to join Flipgrid or anything. I basically am giving you access to my account. And you can put, one person from each team should just do this and do the recording. You can do the recording as a group, or you can do the recording individually. But you basically want to have one video of your group and your question. Let me stop sharing, sorry. And then we were thinking that and so you would do your recording, and your other folks on your team would do your recording. You'd all respond to each other, and then you, as a person who recorded, would respond back. So you'd have a chance to go back and forth. And And we were going to suggest that, you know, if we start, let's say now, that we make sure to at least to get our own projects recording, our 5 minutes with our key question, we get that posted by November, by our next meeting in November. And then by December, you respond to your other teammates. So we do this over 2 months, so it doesn't also become sort of a stressful thing, but we give each other time, and you'll be in groups so you can contact each other and say, oh, by the way, I posted mine. So how does this sound to people? Does it make sense? Does it seem worth trying?
It makes sense, and at the same time, it seems a little scary. I want to play with it, like, how do you know how that was 1 page, 2 videos on 1 page? I mean, I suppose we can figure that out, but I was just chatting with Grant, and I'm sure Alexa will agree. It's like, how are we gonna? I'm just because we're in a school. You know, all the teachers have 4 or 5 preps. They're, you know, we don't have a time during the school day to meet. After school, we got this club thing we're going to do, and once the kids are there, then people will be a part of that. But struggling, maybe that's our question, struggling with how to get everybody in one room, all the teachers, to talk about what our questions are.
Oh, right, to get to the question. Yeah.
We have a leader group.
Certainly for the technology, you don't need everybody to talk. You just do one person. But right, how do you get to the question? Right. That's a good question. That's totally valid.
We might be able to do a Google Grant, just maybe a
Google Doc or something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that to Joanne that we could possibly do like a Google Doc with our team to arrive at what we want our question to be, and then have one of us record the video.
Yeah, that's a nice idea.
The dialogue for the consultants that way.
Yeah, that's great. I like that.
So I'll start one up actually while we're doing this, and then we can send it out.
Okay.
And a dilemma, there's a link here to, in the consultancy document, to what it says, as per this resource, a consultancy dilemma, they say that dilemmas deal with issues dilemmas deal with issues with which you are struggling, something that is problematic or has not been as effective as you would like. So you want to sort of put forward something, not something that you're really solving, but something that really you're kind of puzzling through. So I think all of the work that you guys already mentioned are really good questions. And if you listen to what everybody else in this hangout shared, I think you can see some of the overlaps and some of these tensions around, like, how do we open the space for the kids? How do we expand this as more opportunity? How do we even support kids in, I'm just calling them kids, but you know, it's not necessarily what they want to be called, but how do we even support all of us actually making decisions about our privacy? I think these are all really good questions and would be great for consultancy. So you want to get to something that's kind of meaty that you think that others in this group could talk to or talk about. And related to that, I just thought of something, and so I was thinking that if we at least try to make a recording with our key question by our next meeting, then we can, if that becomes hard to do, then we can talk about it at our next meeting, right? So we'll do it with sort of check-ins in between. And I love the idea that Grant's idea that one way to, like, if you have a really large spread out team, that one way might be to do sort of a Google Doc or an asynchronous conversation even locally. Questions, concerns? Oh, I remember I was going to say the privacy of Flipgrid was one thing I wanted to address. So this is my account, and I won't be sharing this link out with anybody else. So your question or your dilemma or your presentation, you should be mindful that other people in this group, other people who have LRNG projects, will potentially see it. I mean, they're not, I doubt all of you are going to watch everybody's thing, but even those outside your group might see your video. But we will not be sharing this video out otherwise. And as I said, you don't need to log in. So you can even use, you know, your project name instead of your personal name if you wanted to do that. Flipgrid also allows, it is a sort of video thing, and I know for some people that's not the most comfortable format. It does allow you to upload an image over top of what you are presenting. So if you want to actually present a piece of work and ask some questions about it, you could do that. It also allows you to upload a video or an audio file. So you could also do that if you feel that, you know, just talking into the camera isn't exactly the way you wanted to present the protocol, present the question. All right. So everybody's game, it seems okay? And we'll check in about it, okay? Now, one of the things is that we used to have an annual meeting where we would get together, and this year we just don't have that. So this is sort of trying to figure out how do we do this and not make ourselves crazy around scheduling too, which I think would be sort of have a different tension around it. But stay in touch if you can't figure out how to do it or it just feels awkward or whatever, because we'd really love to hear feedback from you around this, okay? Cool, thank you.
I think it sounds like a clever way to get around the problem of geography, and so I'm really curious to see how it goes.
Yeah, and it was sort of fun when I did it with my class. So let me know if you think it's fun. It might not be fun, I don't know. Okay, great. I kind of love Flipgrid as a tool. I think it came out of Minneapolis, if I'm not mistaken, University of Minnesota, I believe, but then it's bought by Microsoft, which is why I didn't want you to have to sign up for it, because whether or not you subscribe to Microsoft or not. So, okay. Finally, in thinking about our November meeting, I just wanted to see if people had some, we can talk about the Flipgrid at our November meeting, but if you have any sort of driving things that you'd really like to talk about as sort of a bigger group. I know that Vicki was asking again about this idea of like, is there a way that we could have some of the youth working on our projects connect with each other? And that might be a step beyond for where some people are at this point, but I know it's come up a couple times. So I just wanted to raise that again. We had also talked about potentially doing a Slack group so we could reach each other. I took the privilege of, as the organizer, to say like, let's do Flipgrid first and then do Slack, so we're not doing everything on top of each other. So I hope that makes sense. Anyway, that was another way that people were thinking of connecting, and maybe we could do that in the spring. But there was this question about youth themselves connecting. So I don't know if that's something to talk about in November, or if there's some other key issues that that are on your mind that you think would be great to talk about as a group.
That notion about youth connecting with each other, what about, like, what would be the issues? I know there's the one project where there's privacy issues where youth participate in this.
Yeah.
Is that a bad idea?
I've had my students participate in the global read aloud on Flipgrid. And it's, again, that's one of those things where there's not even a shade of gray. That's totally fine because they don't have to use first and last names. They don't necessarily identify on there which school they're coming from or anything like that. It's a great way for them to participate. And that was the only reason I was familiar with Flipgrid, because teachers shared that with the group on Facebook, and it was an easy way for us to connect.
That's interesting.
It's actually very cool. Yeah. So that might be a neat way just for them to interact or see what other schools are doing, so they feel part of the bigger picture.
I was thinking specifically to this monthly meeting.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
it goes to a larger question maybe we could talk about.
Mhm.
So as the PI or grantee, right?
Mhm.
It says teacher led. So I'm just making the coffee, like they say, writing projects, right?
Mhm.
But actually I'm kind of doing more than making coffee. So there's the idea of distributed leadership, I guess, right?
Yep.
And then the next piece is that the students come, and if we're struggling with having them have a real say and not just a fake say that we've already decided, then maybe coming to this monthly meeting, and asking their own questions. And maybe it's not something we do with all the tents. I don't know. It's a question.
Mhm.
Maybe that's just something we do within our project, or maybe our consultancy partner, I don't know, in the Flipgrid. But it's harder to have them believe they have an authentic role if they don't get to go to the secret leadership meetings.
Yep. Yep. That totally makes sense. Well, I think it's a great question. Maybe you could even ask the youth that you're working with, what do they think? What would be interesting and helpful to them, and where would they like to have input? So I think that that's totally right and valid. And yeah. And we can certainly, we don't need these to be secret. We want to be mindful of the privacy issues, as we talked about. So,
I wasn't
yeah,
meaning
let's hear from them.
Be negative. It was it was more of a joke. I realize these aren't secret. I'm just,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, but they can seem secret, right?
Yeah.
Like they really can. I think it's a really good point. Yeah, I think it's great. Let's talk about that. And maybe just over the next month, we can sort of chat with folks and see how they feel. Is Grant, are you, I don't know if you were talking to her, or if you wanted us to hear you, because you're on mute. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, well, it is 8:00. So thank you all. It was really nice to get updates on your work, and so appreciate it, and all the strong and powerful work you're doing. So great job. Thanks for being willing to try this Flipgrid thing, and let us know if you run into any problems, and then we'll continue this conversation next month. Okay? Okay.